Hello everyone, I am Chase of Rocky Mountain ATVMC giving you a closer look at the Crossfire 2 TA boot from Sidi. Alright, thanks for checking in with us today. As you can see, we're talking all about the Crossfire 2 TA boot coming from Sidi. Now, a cool fact about the Crossfire 2 is that this was actually the premium flagship offering from Sidi for a lot of years. You now have the Crossfire 3. I'll explain the differences between the two. But if you're looking for a rock-solid set of boots, that was a premium boot at one point, still is, at a good price, because for the Crossfire 2 TA, you're going to be about $450, then definitely a boot that you want to have on your radar. Now, there also is the Crossfire 2 SRS version, and I'll explain the difference between that and the TA as well as we go through and we talk about it in this video. Now, before we dive in and we talk about the features, really important here, let's talk about fit. I've worn the Crossfire 2 TA. I've also worn the SRS version. Here's what you need to know. First off, in this boot, they don't have a size 9. You got a 9.5 and you have an 8.5. I wear a size 9 in every other boot. With this one specifically, 9.5 for me is just too big. I would go down to an 8.5 for me. So when you are looking at these, if you're right in that size range, if you're on the lower end of a 9, I would suggest going to an 8.5. If you're on the upper end of a 9, go to a 9.5. But keep in mind, these are an apparel item, which means if these or any boot that you buy from Rocky Mountain, if you're not happy with how they fit, send them back in brand new, unused condition, and we'll give you free shipping both ways on your first exchange. And another important thing to know with fit when it comes to these is that with the TA, and I'm just going to tell you, TA stands for traditional application, which means it has a traditional stitched-on sole, where the SRS is sole replacement system. That boot has a sole you can replace right from your own home. With the TA version, the footbed is going to be about, or excuse me, the toe box area is going to be about 5 millimeters wider. Now, like I said, I've ridden also in the Crossfire SRS version. That boot to me is super narrow. In fact, when I wear it, I have a hard time wearing it for more than a few hours before my feet are starting to get scrunched too much. They start to hurt. I have to take the boot off. With the TA version, I don't get that. A little bit wider toe box, so for riders that do have wider feet, I would tell you to gravitate more towards the TA option. If you have narrow feet and you're looking for a narrow toe box, I would say go with the SRS. And I'll explain the differences between the sole and how those feel here in just a minute. But as far as the overall construction of the boot, you got two main materials as the base. You're going to have a full grain leather that's going to be in the toe box area. You can see you've got a lot of hard plastic over top the toe box. But then you'll notice that with this tongue, as it comes and works its way up the front as well as in the back, they use what they call laminated techno micro. And the reason for that is laminated techno micro, they say, is just as durable as leather. It's a little bit lighter also, but also just adds a little bit more flexibility to the boot right out of the box. So it's not going to be as stiff if they were to use just full grain leather for the entire construction. Now, as far as the stiffness goes, it's a very common question that riders will ask. I'm going to put the Crossfire 2 TA probably about that 7 out of 10 range on the stiffness scale. Now, if you compare it to, say, maybe an SG12 from Garnet or a Tech 10 from Alpine Stars, it's not going to be as stiff as those. It's definitely going to have some break-in time, but it's not going to take too long. But you do have pretty good flexibility right out of the box. But remember, with any new boot, you just got to be patient. So those are your main constructions. Like I talked about, over the toe box, you got a lot of hard plastic. This boot, in my opinion, probably has some of the best protection of any premium boot that is out there, and here's why. You've got that hard toe box. You've got a very large hard plastic shim plate, but if you look at the outside here, you're going to notice you've got this hard protector here on the outside of the ankle. That's going to be your hinge. You've also, on the inside here, you've got this hard plastic protector on the inside of the ankle. Again, so dual pivoting and pivots on the inside and the outside. Also, you can see right here, they have a Kickstarter / foot peg guard on the inside of the boot as well. And here's what I like about Sidi that's pretty unique. There's a lot of replaceable parts on this boot. Basically, anything that you can see that has screws is replaceable. So if you're looking for one boot that's going to have years of durability, probably one of the better options that is out there. So the shin plate, you can see that's going to be replaceable. This ankle guard on the inside is replaceable. This Kickstarter insert, that's replaceable. The sole also, even though it is stitched on, you can have this replaced by a shoe cobbler if you do want to. So again, just lots of durability built into this. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is up at the top. We'll talk about the buckles first, actually. So the buckles are actually really good. And what I like about the Sidi buckles is that they work even when they're dirty and gunked up. There's some boots that I ride in where if they get too dirty, I have a hard time closing those things. With the Sidi buckles, they always work really well, very easy to use even if you have your glove on. Buckles are going to be replaceable as well. Also, something kind of unique that Sidi does, if you look at their straps, the straps, you'll notice that right here where they go inside the plastic, you have these little hooks on top here. So when you want to actually adjust the strap itself, what you kind of have to do is pop these out. Now once you pop those out, That's going to allow you to adjust the strap, and then once you're done, you get it right to where you want it. You just kind of pop those back in, and what I like about those is that it just kind of locks the strap. Oh, get it there. There it goes. Kind of locks the strap in place, so that way once you cinch everything down and you close the buckles, you don't have to worry about that strap accidentally loosening itself, which has happened to me with other boots. So it is kind of nice that they do have those to secure the straps. But if we undo the other buckles here, here is something that I like. On the inside of their shin plate, you will see that you have multiple mounting positions for that shin plate. For riders that have really large calves and wear a knee brace and you need a little bit more or a larger opening at the top to get these to fit around your legs and your braces, Sidi is allowing you to do that by having an adjustable shin plate. So props to them for doing that. Me, for example, I have a 16-inch calf diameter and I wear a knee brace. So on these boots, I probably would go and adjust it, make that shin plate just a little bit bigger. Just makes it a little bit easier just to get the boot strapped on. So I like that they do that. As far as the liner goes on the inside, you've got Velcro up here at the top. And then you're going to have two separate materials inside the liner. You're going to have this Teflon mesh up here at the top, and then on the inside in here, you're not going to be able to see it, but they have what they call a material called Cambrel. So moisture wicking, antimicrobial. You do have some padding around the ankle as well, which is nice and comfortable. So cinch this back up. You're also going to notice too, on the sides here, it's kind of unique, you actually have some venting as well. So you can see you got these holes here. There's going to be a mesh underneath that, so get some airflow, especially on those hot days. Probably does help a lot. So buckle this back up. Get my straps. Now when we look at the pivot system on the ankle, this is something worth mentioning. So like I mentioned, this is the Crossfire 2. You do have the Crossfire 3, which sits above this. Now if you're looking at the Crossfire 3 TA option, you're going to be about $75 more if you did want to jump up to that. And here's one of the big differences between the two if you're not quite sure which one you think is going to be best for you. It's really a lot of it is going to be in the hinge design. The fit and the construction is almost identical. But with the hinge design, with the Crossfire 3, if you went up, and we have a product spotlight on that boot as well, you can give that a watch. But they have, you'll see on there more of an extension stop. So a little bit of added protection as far as hyperextension goes with that hinge design. Other than that, they're pretty dang similar. Not a whole lot of differences, but give that video a watch. But if you look at the heel cup, you can see that you do have a reinforced heel cup that's going to help with your shock absorption. You can see again, you got a couple vents in there as well. And then on that medial side, again, just like we talked about, you would see a hyperextension stop on the inside here. Again, just a little bit of added safety feature if you go up to the Crossfire 3. Now the last thing we need to cover is with the sole. Now I've already talked about this, the TA, traditional application. This sole you can buy a replacement and then you take it to a shoe cobbler, they can replace it for you. With the SRS version, whether it's the Crossfire 2 or the 3, stands for sole replacement system. If you're tough on soles and you replace them say once or maybe twice a year, I don't know, I've seen some riders go through soles pretty quickly. The nice thing about the SRS is you can replace it from your own home. If you look at those boots, you'll notice that the soles just held on with some screws. So that's the big difference between the two as far as changing out the sole. So take that into consideration. The other big factor that I would consider is that with the TA option, here's what I noticed. The toe box up in the front, a little bit more low profile than the SRS. Not a whole lot, but it does appear to be a little bit more low profile. Also with the TA option, in my opinion, I feel like this sole does have a little bit more feel on the foot pegs and on the brake pedal. So if that's really important to you, then that's definitely something that you would want to consider. The SRS isn't terrible, but it is a pretty dang stiff sole. Doesn't offer as much feel on the foot pegs as some other boots. So just know I think these do give a little bit more feedback to the rider's feet. And of course, what Sidi says is that this type of sole is going to be better for riders that maybe spend a little bit more time off the bike and you do a little bit more walking. And that is it. That is the Crossfire 2 TA from Sidi. If you have questions or comments, leave those below. We want to get your questions answered. To pick yours up, just click on the link or head over to RockyMountainATVMC.com. Remember, all orders over $75 ship free. And do not forget, if you own this boot or one of the other options from Sidi, the Crossfire 3, the 2, the SRS, I want to hear your feedback. If you've ridden them both, what is the big difference between the two that you have noticed? That's going to help other riders out who are looking to pick up their next set. I'm Chase at Rocky Mountain, and we'll see you on the trails.